True crimers, welcome to Break the Case. I'm your host. I'm Jen Coffindaffer. I have that new fancy intro. Still working on kind of the transition from the intro to just me coming on and saying hello to everybody. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. We are going to start lives every Monday and every Thursday night. So Mondays and Thursdays, I'm going to keep that schedule. I also have this week a Wednesday edition. I moved the Tuesday to the Wednesday on Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew, that case that I am so excited to get back into, very much into it. 2 years ago or more, actually, her body was found in 2023. And so it was probably 3 years that following that case. So I'm very excited to be bringing that to you. And then also every Thursday, just to concentrate on the Idaho 4 case. So we'll be coming to you with everything new, everything, going over court documents, going over little intricate things I find in those documents, also touching on some of the things we touched on so long ago in the Idaho 4 case that I'm realizing everybody's kind of forgotten. Even the DoorDash driver, we dissected the DoorDash driver nonstop so long ago. And of course, she's back in the news. I tweeted about that, posted that video and so on. But anyway, that's kind of the schedule moving forward since we're out of trial mode. I can't wait to get back into some of these very important cases. And wanted to start out tonight, of course, with Sebastian Rogers. He is the #1 missing case that I really follow and report on. And I have since he went missing back February 25th of last year. And I think it's really important that we all keep his name in the news, that we all talk about him, that we post his photo, that we say his name, if you will. And I have a lot to go over. It's not going to be a long live, but I really want to focus on what is law enforcement doing? What are they not doing? Where are we at from the law enforcement standpoint? And I've got a lot of things that I kind of want to touch on here. For those who have never been with us, my name's Jen Coffindaffer. I'm retired federal agent for 28 years, 25 years as a special agent with the FBI. This is a fact-based channel. I'm not the channel that you're going to go to hear me talk about how other channels are horrible and they're all criminals and they serve time in jail and blah blah blah. You're not going to hear that here. I'm not that type of a channel, but we are going to really get into and discuss crime and very specific cases, and especially as Idaho 4 is around the bend, and that was the #1 case I really covered just in every form of mainstream media. Right after everything happened, I'm really going to kick back into that and put a stronghold on that case again. But tonight, let's talk about Sebastian Rogers. I first want to focus on something that really bothered me. We have talked about for a long time the timing of events. Essentially, back on February 25th was the last time this young man was seen from the accounting of his mother, Katie Proudfoot, who was the only person in the house and the last person to see him. We know we have proof of life independent of her from a Texas Roadhouse restaurant where they ate. That film broke several months ago and everybody kind of got to look at it and dissect it. What was interesting is I had that for so long, but I did not post it. And then of course, everybody started posting it. So I went ahead and posted it. But in any event, that footage, we know he was alive. And in addition, we have footage from it's really audio, if you will, from a vehicle device that was in Katie Proudfoot's car. So we also have that proof of life on the 25th, 2025. What we don't have is anything after that. That's been confirmed. There's no video footage. There's no eyewitness footage. There is nothing no footage that identifies Sebastian Rogers by face, by voice, by anything after the 25th. Now, I want you to take a look at this particular document I have up here. So before the live, in preparation, I went ahead and looked at where does the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, what's their missing alert look like, if you will. And this is what I found. It's on their website still. And I just want you to denote this date. I'm sure you see it on there. It says February 26th. Now, we did a live on this where we just really dug in on this point. And obviously, law enforcement follows a lot of different channels that give information regarding Sebastian Rogers, interviews that are done, and so forth. And I want you to denote that this Tennessee Bureau of Investigation poster is still wrong. It's still wrong, shockingly. I want to put up next the Amber Alert. This is if you go to the Sumner County website. So Sumner County still, thankfully, at least has Sebastian up there, also Summer Wells up there. And you'll see again, Sumner County still, even though from their own lips, they said nothing after the 25th, that the 26th was the report date, the 25th was the last seen date. This is important, people. It's so important from a lot of different aspects. We've seen in court how if law enforcement has something wrong, they can twist that and turn that upside down. They could say they're incompetent. They can make a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to anything being wrong. They should have the flippin' correct date on these posters. It's a tragedy, a travesty, and incompetence that they didn't go back and correct these. Now, I want to show you something else here. If you look on the FBI's website, and I'm very proud to report this, that my former agency, oh, did I take this one down? Shoot. Well, anyway, my former agency actually, this only lets me store 10 images, so I apologize. But I looked on the FBI's website, and the FBI's poster has it correct. They not only have Sebastian Rogers' date of birth, or I'm sorry, date of last seen correct. They also have an updated photo that is much more indicative of his looks when he went missing than the Tennessee and the Sumner County. So I was really proud of the Bureau. Literally, after we did our live, within like 2 days, that was changed. And I don't know if you remember, but I did a live right after that. And I said, look at this, the Bureau changed it. Tennessee Bureau has it, Sumner County has it. I think that is super remiss, and I'm really embarrassed for them as the lead agencies in this, that they can't get the date he went missing wrong when they are the ones that said he's never been seen since the 25th. All right, I beat that horse a little bit. I want to talk about who is in charge of this investigation. So as it stands right now, Sumner County is still in charge of the investigation. And as that, I don't want to do that. Sorry, I want that to be blown up. See if I can make that bigger. There we go. And as such, Mr. Craddock is in charge. Now, I wanted to put up his resume. This isn't about a, indictment or anything negative on Mr. Craddock per se, but I certainly want to bring up the fact that he is large and in charge. Okay. He is, you can see from this that I make a lot out of this when I look at this. This is a guy who came on, basically grew up in that area, came right out of, school, began at the rock bottom of the agency and built his way up. We have a name for that in the FBI. We call them blue flamers. They are people who come on board and with the idea that someday they want to be sheriff. In the case of the FBI, they want to be the special agent in charge of that division, not the director, because the director are appointments, but They typically are people who come on board as line agents. They can't wait to raise their hand to be a supervisor. Then they raise it again to be an ASAC, then again, hopefully to be an SAC, which is very difficult. But they do all the moves. You have to move in the Bureau. You have to, check certain boxes, training boxes and things like that. Obviously be successful in whatever you do. In some instances, I know a woman who literally worked at what we call CGIS, which is where they keep track of all the fingerprints. It's the fingerprint mecca. And she worked her way up through there and ended up becoming a special agent in charge, even though, because I know this because of agents that I was very close to that worked with her as an agent. She didn't even do cases. She helped out on cases. She became a supervisor, but always in an administrative role. That's neither here nor there. It's just to say that when you get on this track, that is your goal. Some FBI agents get into the FBI. This is my category. I got into the FBI to put bad guys in jail. I was very motivated. Some of you may know my backstory, but whether you do or not, it's irrelevant. That was my goal, and it wasn't just my goal. Most of the people I hung out with, most of the people that I was around, that was their goal. And it was to put bad guys in jails, to conduct investigations, to do that. So there's two different roles. When I look at that, that is what I see here. And I'm not even saying there's anything wrong with this, because I got to tell you, I admired a lot of the agents that I knew that did it the right way, that were actually really good at their jobs, good at what they did, and rose to, get a desk and to move on. In fact, there were a lot that became supervisors that I said, please put in for ASAC, please put in for special agent in charge, because they were competent and they were great. But typically those guys never really, once they get on that road, they're like, can I go back down and be an agent again? Because that's the best work that there is, in my opinion. But nevertheless, I see that from this. So what does that tell me? He doesn't have really much outside experience. You can see his experience that he sort of outlines there, and it's all fine. But it tells me, again, he's homegrown within the agency. This was his goal. And it's just gives me a little background. Now, I went further on that website, and I've been looking at, well, what have they been doing? What does Sumner County have on their website? We could see there's 60 pages of this, glad handshaking since he became sheriff, doing a lot of things that you might expect somebody who's in more the role of being in charge, sheriff doing, right? Glad handshaking, he's doing all the community service stuff. I saw some of this, he's doing stuff. There's cookouts, there's playing, there's, I'm not saying that's all they're doing. Believe me, I get it. You do stuff on the side. But I've got to be honest, I was so disappointed to see this. I was so disappointed to see that, at least from what I could tell in all these pictures and what's been going on since he was elected sheriff, which was not long ago, just last year. I'm like, well, where are the pictures of at least one search for Sebastian? Where's the picture of something to get the community together to say, hey, listen, this is, the search grids that have never been touched, or let's go back and look at some of those cave type areas that are close to his house. Believe me, I am not sitting here telling you that he walked out. I don't think he did. I think he was either taken out, or after he was out, he was taken. So, and perhaps, and I think quite probably, that's what law enforcement thinks. But that doesn't mean, just like in Kaylee Anthony, and most cases, the bodies are found in close proximity to wherever things would have happened. I am so sorry to say that on here. If Seth is on here, or any, one who personally knows Sebastian Rogers, I'm so sorry to say that. But I'm just saying, we have to now focus in on a possible reality. And I just wanted to see something that had to do with Sebastian Rogers in the last year. Something. I saw nothing. I saw lots of other things. I saw nothing. And that really bothered me, because it makes me really wonder what they are doing. And I have been, as you've all seen, a big supporter of law enforcement. In fact, on my last segment on Sebastian Rogers, I specifically talked about how in law enforcement, nobody more than law enforcement wants to um, find these children. I mean, this is, except for the parents and loved ones, I mean, this becomes your life, your what's what you do. You barely sleep, you barely eat, you're out there looking, you're investigating, you're doing everything in your power to find out. But what's happened is, and I know we've talked about, is a case cold is a case cold. I mean, yeah, yes, yeah, that $50,000 reward that was offered at the end of last year, that already told me there's a problem. You know, that the case was, they weren't getting any more leads that were workable. They were hoping that somebody would respond. We also know that Dog and At Night and that crew added on, somewhere around 150,000. I know it's well over $200,000. Honestly, that's what I mostly get to see. I literally get to see weekly almost the leads that are going into that agency and these reports that go out. In fact, I got one today that kind of made me excited, but as I looked at it, it was basically an extortion report. I wanted to get excited, like a trafficking report, and where they were trying to extort money. I only mentioned that it's been given to the FBI, and I'm sure they're tracking it down. I'm certainly not going to go into a lot of detail here. But I'm just saying, of course, anytime something's viable like that, it comes in, it goes to the FBI. At least there's an avenue that somebody is taking outside information and funneling it back to the FBI. And I feel very positive about that. I'm glad that somebody is taking it in, whether these are just nut jobs that are calling in these reports, writing. This was actually a written one, so it was really great because it could be tracked, and that was really helpful. But do I think it's going to be somebody just probably a nut job that's, trying to take advantage? Yes. I mean, that's what happens a lot in these cases. I'm sure many of you know about it. When I see a case like that, I try to post it on my Twitter. People that are extorted. Basically, the parents get extorted. It's horrible. It happens in almost every case. It's happened in this case. It's happened in this case numerous times. We have Sebastian send this money, things like that. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that these parents have to suffer with, that law enforcement gets, down the road that leads to nowhere. And that's what's happened in this case. But I do appreciate the fact that, Dog has lent his resources, and At Night is also, they're working in tandem and together to pick up these reportings or these reports that come into them through Dog typically. And I appreciate that. And I think all of us do. But really, what does law enforcement have to do? I mean, honestly, they don't owe any of us anything. I'm going to say that right off the bat. You and me in the public, we're not owed anything from law enforcement. But you know who is owed something? Seth Rogers is owed something. If Katie and Chris Proudfoot are not subjects of the investigation, they are owed something. Parents are owed something. And I say that not from an armchair quarterback spot. I am saying that from the spot of somebody who has worked missing children, multiple cases, either on them covering leads or been the case agent or been in charge of the command post. It is absolutely not at all acceptable for Craddock or the detective or somebody to reach out to these parents with monthly updates. I don't care if that update is, we have no update. If that update is, listen, we got 50 tips in and all of them were bad. Or guess what? We have 0 tips in, 0. This case is cold. Or you know what? Maybe it's, hey, we thought we had a good one. We had a couple of guys working on it. Or, hey, are you all still searching it all? What do we, can we complement a search you guys working on? For heaven's sake, something. something to the parents. That is what chaps me right now. Where is the victim advocacy? Where's the victim advocate for Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and for Sumner County reaching out to Seth Rogers? Where is that at? Keeping him apprised. And like I said, Chris and Katie, if they are not deemed subjects in terms of their investigation, what is happening here? The Bureau is lucky because we have what we call victim advocates. It's literally a department. It's back in headquarters and in the field offices. There's victim advocates. They typically have very amazing backgrounds of social work and psychology and advocacy work that they've done in their prior jobs before they get this job. I tell you, if anybody, because I know the type of audience that's here, if anybody is interested in a job that's not a special agent, either because you're over 27 or 37, or because you maybe physically, or you don't ever want to kill somebody, or you're not comfortable shooting, whatever it may be, that is such a great job to get with the FBI, to go on FBIjobs.gov and look at their victim advocacy programs. Now, I will say this right now, I don't think that FBI is hiring much of anyone at this particular moment because, we've seen all the cuts. They're actually getting paid to leave the FBI right now. I know I was just talking to a couple of my old squad mates. It's so funny. Most people have retired now. But there's a few that were newbies, just a few years in when I got in, and wonderful folks. And I was just talking to one the other day about another case. But in any event, you have to have an advocate communicating between the law enforcement party. That's how it works in the Bureau. In other words, I'm not necessarily going to be talking to those parents if I'm the case agent, but I tell you what, I darn well make sure that that advocate is, that I'm talking to the advocate. I can think of a case right now where it needed so much advocacy. I mean, that was a horrible case. And it was critical that the parents were kept up to speed. This is their child. This isn't a soap opera. It's not a game to them. This is their life. This is their only child, at least for Seth and for Katie. It's their only child. And for law enforcement not to communicate, for law enforcement to have the wrong date of disappearance, TBI and Sumner, for them not to have a more up-to-date photo is remiss. And I think you can see how, how can you have any confidence? And I quite frankly think Craddock, this is not in his windshield. This is in his rear view, this case. And he could say, oh yeah, we're actively have an Amber Alert. Well, yeah, it's sitting there. Summer Wells is active too. And that case is colder than a freaking salmon that's been in a freezer for 3 years. So, and this case is cold. I wanted to get on and talk about that because I know you all are wondering. The last press conference was April 2nd, 2024, people. I shouldn't say that. There was a press release. I want to get the exact date. I wrote it down. December 24th, 2024. That was the update after the film was released, the Texas Roadhouse. And you know what was on there? That was the person that was in green, the sweatshirt lady that they ended up tracking down and letting everybody know on social media, because it was running amok, that she wasn't a part of the investigation and they had cleared her, essentially. I've always said that film should have been dissected down to every single person that engaged with him, looked at him, was in the vicinity of him. I mean, you've all seen this footage. It's so weird. It's, he's sitting there, he's eating like he hasn't had a meal in 2 weeks, which again could be normal. Just saying, he was a growing boy and things like that. His mom was attached at the hip to the cell phone, took a couple of pictures. I always wondered, and maybe, where is that picture? Let me know if you guys have seen it. Obviously, we've seen the video and we can take stills, but where's that picture? I think it looked like she took two, if I'm recalling correctly. It's been a minute since I've watched that, but I always thought it was so bizarre that the green sweatshirt lady, they had never run that down until social media got onto it. And everybody was worried that that person was involved, right? They always had an inkling she wasn't involved, but they never really ran it down. I always thought that was not good. Again, this is the house that Sebastian disappeared from. This wasn't a poor home. This was a very nice, nice house. I was going to put on a couple more pictures of Sebastian here, but I look like I'm limited. There's one I wanted to put up. We got to keep looking. We got to keep looking. If he was taken for some reason, then got to be looking. Do I think he could be taken by somebody and never be seen? Highly, highly, highly unusual, but it does happen. Kids are trafficked and they're not seen. So it can happen. We're well over a year into Sebastian being gone, missing. And that's never good. But law enforcement needs to reach out to the parents and update. They don't owe us anything. It'd be nice for them to do something for them, not for us, so that some of us could improve our, viewpoint of Sumner County at this point, and TBI. Yeah, they're working hard behind the scenes. Well, it would, for their look, not for us, not because we're owed anything, but just reach out to your constituents and say what the deal is. This is cold as ice, or you know what? We are working this hard. We've got some leads. Think we might know. We think we don't know. This is a criminal investigation, which they've all but said in certain terms. So that's what I just wanted to get on tonight and say. I don't really want to belabor it, other than to say it's freaking disappointing. It was disappointing when I got on and TBI and saw that date still not changed on Sumner County, that they can't even take the time to put a more updated picture and to put the correct date. Kudos to my FBI, because right after we did a show, within, like I said, I think it was 2 days, they changed that. And I was thrilled to see that. So as far as other avenues, there's no way the FBI is going to take this over. I know some people want that. It's never going to happen. But there is something that we've been trying to work an inroad at, and that's NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. NCMEC certainly has some avenues, but they have to be requested. And the best source of such a request would be Sumner County. To go to NCMEC and say, listen, we are at a standstill. If that's the case, this thing is growing cold. Come in, take a look, revisit everything. Please send an investigator. I have a very good friend who's an investigator. He just doesn't work this part of the country. He works actually out of the country for NCMEC. And just, do the audit. It's getting where it feels like it's too late. So anyway, I'm going to look at a few of these responses that popped up. Hi, Lisa. every time me, KP, and CP talk about Sebastian's going missing, they start on Sunday, February 25th. This is important, right? Yeah, no, exactly what we're pointing out. It's just be correct, law enforcement. We've seen in cases that we've just watched one little mistake by law enforcement, one error can be blown completely out of proportion. Is, they're incompetent, they don't know what they're doing, they messed up, they don't even know when the kid went missing. You don't think that if it turns out he was abducted and killed, or abducted and they find Sebastian, or the parents are involved, you don't think this is going to be a point? Geez, law enforcement didn't even know when he went missing. Hello? It's a small point, but it's really not a small point because it's the main point. It's the first thing you ask. When did they go missing? What they look like, when did they go missing? When was the last time he was seen? So everyone, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys coming on. I hope you join me Wednesday we are going to break down the indictment. I might even go into a little bit of the previous affidavit. They basically, in a lot of ways, match up, but we're going to go into the details of the indictment on concerning Barry Morphew. He is accused of killing his wife, Suzanne Morphew, back on May 9th, 10th. It was actually, I think, on the 9th, and then got rid of her sometime that night. And then the 10th, she was reported missing. Again, these details matter because the murder happened the 9th. The 10th was when she was reported missing. Huge, big deal. The indictment says that, right? It's very specific, especially when you go to look at call records and auto information. All that is critical. And if you don't even have the date right that you're looking at for when everything happened, it just looks bad. So in any event, thank you all for being here. And it's so great to get back on and get connected with everybody. I know it's been a crazy few weeks. I've been traveling so much on some other projects, and I have a few cases I mentioned that are my expert witness cases that are going hot and heavy right now. But I'm going to get back on schedule. I'm going to make sure I do it. And to each of you, I appreciate all your time. Keep Sebastian's name out there for me, will you? And until next time, may justice be served.